Several months ago, I put out a call on a crochet Facebook group and I asked, how did you get into crochet? What has it come to mean to you? In other words, what's your story? And people answered with their stories. Some of these stories are funny, others are a bit more serious, but I found all of them engaging. I hope you do too. In this series, some of the interviewees volunteered to record their audio essays themselves, while others agreed to have me record the essay for them. This particular essay was recorded with my voice. The following interview is with Echo, who has been crocheting for nearly 30 years. Echo incorporates crochet into her full-time business as an artist, entrepreneur, and freelancer. Echo approached the interview with a remarkable degree of candor, and I hope you will appreciate it as much as I did. My great-grandmother used to babysit me while my parents went to car auctions for their business. She was a functional alcoholic and taught me to crochet to keep me out from under her feet while she drank her morning brandy and finished her crossword puzzles. I have autism and ADHD, but I wasn't diagnosed until my early 30s. Crocheting was the only time I wasn't bouncing off the walls. I was raised by my grandparents, and for their generation, mental health disorders are to be hidden or ignored. I was always a weird kid, but I was high-functioning enough to just ignore my weirdness. Because I was undiagnosed, my weirdness was just part of who I was. As an adult, and after my diagnosis, a lot of things I did as a kid make more sense. Learning crochet and being a bookworm made it easier for my parents, though. They did car auctions, storage auctions, and estate sales. So when they didn't have childcare, they would just have me bring a project and a book, and I could spend hours self-contained in my special interests in the car. Because of my hyperfixations on specific books and my crochet, my parents could safely leave me home by age 8. My parents were supportive of the craft. We get the cheap stuff at Walmart, but sometimes when we go through estate sales and storage units for our business, we'd find boxes and bags of yarn. Family friends would also pass along yarn. And in my elementary school, there was a special education instructor that held a crochet group for students that didn't want to go outside during recess. I go there a few times a week. I crocheted regularly through elementary and occasionally in middle school. I was in 7th grade when 9/11 happened, and I made an amigurumi rabbit to auction at a fundraiser. From that, I got nearly a dozen commissions for the following spring from teachers and families that saw my fundraiser rabbit. My mom also operated a secondhand shop, and I still sell some of my creations there. In high school, it kind of got set aside because it wasn't cool. I put it back up in college as a way to quietly and productively fidget for my focus. Though I primarily crochet, I also know how to knit. Crochet stitches weren't soft enough for my sister when going through chemotherapy for inoperable brain cancer, so I told her I'd learn to knit for her. I didn't get to finish her hat before she passed at age 14, so every year I knit a super basic hat to donate to the Children's Hospital in her name. I recently invested in a knitting machine, so I make several each year now. In 2009, I was married, and in 2011, I found out I was pregnant. When I was 4 months pregnant, I was in a car wreck and put on bed rest. During that time, I made so many hats and stuffed animals. My husband's best friend offered to help me set up for farmers markets to sell some of the stuff and make some money while I was out of work. Since then, I've sold my amigurumi every summer and every holiday season. I crochet 6 to 10 hours daily, and, on average, crochet makes up 30 to 50% of my annual income. My sons have been raised around yarn and have been going to farmers markets with me their whole life. I used to stuff their diaper bag with the things they needed and a few balls of yarn, just in case we had to wait in line or they fell asleep in the car on the way home from an appointment. We used to go out to the park and do tummy time on a blanket while I sat and crocheted with them. Usually they beg for me to make them whatever I'm working on. They also ask for my crochet toys for birthday party gifts for friends. I'm making 55 of these for their Valentine's Day gifts for classmates and teachers. I've got photos long back in my Facebook memories of my oldest when he was around 3 years old, wearing an Elsa wig I had made and cuddling a giant unicorn I made for a market. He wouldn't let it go and acted like selling the unicorn would be the same as murdering a sibling, so I let him keep it. When crocheting wasn't making enough, I'd get a part-time job or I'd work on building relationships. Since 2013, I've had a working relationship with my hometown toy store owner. She sells my hats and plushies whenever I can send them to her. If anyone is considering going into selling crochet as a business, I'd let them know that it's going to be hard. Like any new venture and any self-employment venture, there will be a feast or famine cycle. Use your downtime to prepare for your uptime. When choosing what to make to sell, I mostly go with my gut, and when something does really well, I'll make several. One of my best sellers is a T-Rex dino, but I haven't made them in a year because I burnt out. I'm bringing them back this summer now that I've had a break. I do make decisions of what to make based on how much time it takes to make compared to what I can typically sell it for, but I'll still make things that just spark joy. When I get bored or burnt out with my crochet, I'll take a day or two to play with other art forms. Crochet has become meditative. Digital art is something that engages my mind in a different way. My business has grown over time. When I go to regular events, I get customers that come back time and time again. They bring their friends. Last summer, I did a farmer's market every other week, and the same kids would come by. There was a young boy who keeps in his grandma's booth, and he'd buy his siblings a new small toy every time. I also have an Etsy, and I keep my things from made to order on Etsy. I always knew I would make a business out of something. I didn't want to work for others. I'd grown up working in a family business. I was good at math and spent my school breaks helping the family. By 8, I could count back change without a calculator, and my parents had me watch the shop while they made deliveries. At times, selling can feel like a chore, but I change up colors and the places I work in and watch movies and listen to audiobooks to break up the monotony. I try new patterns every few weeks. I do crochet challenges with my friends, and I do live streams to chat with other creators. It's a job, but it's one that I have total creative control over.